Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Very good.
I'm good, thank you. I'm pretty good. Did anybody hear the thunderstorm, the thunder, like a while ago? It was like just up here, right? It always amazes me. The climate, the weather. It's something that always intrigued me. And can you hear me well?
Yes.
No? Yes, no? Okay. I'll try to speak up a little bit. Okay. Maybe that's better. Who here comes from a place where they really experience the 4 seasons? Like, in Florida, we don't have 4 seasons. Basically, we have 2, right? It's hot or it's warm, but not that hot.
I used to live in
New Jersey. So you got 4 seasons.
Yes.
Distinct. Connecticut, same thing.
Montreal.
Montreal, yeah.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. So pretty much all of us, we have experienced the seasons, right? We have experienced those cycles and how the weather changes and how, we come one season after another, and then we experience different things. As I said, in Florida, we don't experience that much of a change. It's really hot or just hot. But still, we get hurricanes, which in all of those places, you wouldn't experience those, right? And now it seems like this year, everything is crazy. I don't know if have you noticed that? Do you have that feeling? Anybody has that feeling that everything is crazy? And, climate-wise and weather-wise and all of that? Who's heard about El Niño or La Niña? Okay, pretty much everybody. You know what El Niño is? See?
You could explain to us
Oh, no. No.
the difference between those two.
You have two El Niños. You have 2 El Niños.
Huh?
You have 2 El Niños.
Oh, I think
You have to, yeah. It seems that it's coming this year, and it's just El Niño. Basically, it's a disruption in the climate, in the way that balance, which is our global climate system, works. Every few years, it could be every 2 years, it could be every 7 years, anywhere in between. There's a disruption in the Pacific Sea, where right around the equatorial line, the water heats up I'd say way more than it typically does, but it really is less than a degree more. So it seems a lot more, but it's not. I mean, in terms of degrees, it's not that much, but the effect that it has, it's huge. It's an effect, first of all, in that area. The warmer water on top, it makes the fish go away. So the people who live off the fish in that area before anybody else. And that's why it's called El Niño, because in that it was in the area of Peru. Around the 1800s, the fishermen, they noticed that around Christmas, they couldn't find any fish. So they said, El Niño, Jesus, has brought these to us, and that's why the name. But that's just like one disruption over there. All over the Americas and all over Asia, there are more disruptions. Places where it will rain a lot more than it's supposed to. Places where there'll be a drought. So if it finally comes, as it seems it's going to come this year, we can expect a lot more rain here and all throughout the south of the United States, and they can expect less rain, way less rain in the north. That's one thing that is going to happen, and probably less hurricanes next season. But this season we're gonna have a lot of them. So we get these cycles, right? And these changes and these disruptions, and sometimes I experienced the hurricanes here for the first time in my life. I didn't know what that was, and then I thought, I tried to think, to put myself in the shoes of those people who lived here maybe 1,000 years ago, and what would they think when, you know, it was nice weather, and then all of a sudden, a day later, they get a hurricane going by. What would they think? Like, you know, where is this coming from? In fact, they probably thought there was some kind of a punishment, or, you know, something with the gods or something like that. But it was a natural thing. Now we can explain it. Now we can even, with a few days, know when it's going to come, when it's going to arrive. We may know that, but they didn't know that. And something that is for sure is that those changes, they always arrive, and they are inevitable, right? Those things are inevitable. And the same way that we get these things in climate, and we get these seasons with the climate, it happens to us in life. So we can make a parallel of the way the climate works, and the things, the unexpected things that we get, and the expected things and cycles that we get with our lives. We get changes, we get things happen in our life. We get thrown into different situations. Sometimes we are feeling really good, like, you know, a good spring day. Pick your, you know, your choice. For me, it would be a nice spring day with about 20 degrees and sunny, and, you know, that'd be great for me. So sometimes our life is just like that. And sometimes it's like a very hard winter day, maybe with hail, or maybe a tornado is coming, or maybe a hurricane is coming, any of those things. But what is for sure is that every phase and every cycle and every situation that we go through and that we face, it's going to lead to another one. And that's something that, you know, we know for sure. Of course, the seasons in our life are not as predictable as the climate. Sometimes they can be, or sometimes we wish they were, and then, you know, we plan, and some of us, not everybody, but some people are more planners than others and try to plan carefully. I've seen this happening time and time again. You can plan as much as you want, and more than likely, whatever you think it's going to be like in 5, 10, 15 years, it won't be like that. It'll be something different. About 3 years ago, I started a business. I set up a startup company to do conflict resolution, this thing that I like. And when I was trying to raise money and get an investor, you know, I was all energized and believing in my project and all of that. And I went to the investor, and I did the presentation and different meetings, and presented the business plan and the numbers and everything. And finally he said, I'm gonna back you up. I'll go for that. And he said, I like your plan. I like your business. I like the idea. I like what you're doing. And I like the way you presented the business plan. The only thing that I know is that that's not gonna happen like that. I don't know how it's going to happen, but, you know, all those numbers that you're presenting me and I'm backing you up, it's not gonna be like that. And he was right. He was very right. It's nothing like what I presented him and he supported me for. But, you know, I think that's part of the process. So for me, that's a very recent and real experience of my planning, my numbers, everything looking very nice, and someone, I'd say with more experience, making me aware that, you know, it's not going to be the way you think. It's going to be different.
And what happened 3 years later?
I'm still fighting. Yeah. To be honest, I haven't been able to be in the black at all. I'm far from being in the black, but I'm still running. And I still have the support of, you know, this person and the rest of the team to keep going. So, you know, we're still there. The mortality rate of startups, it's super high. So it's something that could happen, but I'm still fighting so that we, you know, we make it in the end. I don't know what it will look like, but I think it's important. And, you know, since you asked the question, I'm probably going to jump ahead a little bit in the talk. It doesn't really matter. I think it's important how we prepare for that and how we prepare for what may come, which we don't know what it is, and how, you know, how resilient we are. So, you know, how we train ourselves to be resilient and to accept and to be flexible and all of that. That's very important. So, of course, you know, we're here. There may be a hurricane coming in our lives. Something can happen. Now, have we prepared for it? And if we have, how? What do we do to prepare for those things? Are we aware that we need some kind of preparation? Of course, if a hurricane comes, we know, you know, all the preparations, and, you know, you get the news 24 hours, buy water and do this and do that and trana. But if we think about it, we could do some of those things now and not when there's no more gas or no more, you know, whatever it is that we probably don't need. But anyway, that's another story. So we, you know, as I say, we do experience all those things in our lives, and we can try to control. That's not gonna help really. To try to, it's like trying to control a hurricane or a tornado. You know, you can't really do that. To some extent, you can, and we've gotten really good at, you know, forecasting and see what we have to do and changing the way we do with agriculture and other things based on the science of the climate. We've gotten very good at it, but we can't control everything, and things happen. There's a story that I want to share with you that I think that it does a very good job at explaining what we're trying to see here today, to talk about today, and explaining this phenomenon. And this is the story of a king that had 4 sons. And this king, he wanted to teach a lesson to his sons. So what he did was, there was a cherry tree down, far down in the forest, in this kingdom. And one day, in the hardest period of the winter, he sent the oldest son to visit the tree. He said, just walk down the path, the woods, and, you know, at some point, you're gonna find this cherry tree. You just have to go there and see the tree, look at the tree, observe, come back and tell me what you think. So the son walked there, and he saw a tree that was, you know, pretty much like this first one, kind of dry, and it looked dead. So he came back to his father and said, "Father, you know, that tree is worthless. It's just some branches. There's nothing on it. I think it's dead. There's no way that's gonna live. And the best thing we could do is just cut it and, you know, use the wood to make some fire or something." Well, the king said, okay. Then a few months went by, and sometime during the spring, he sent the second son. So the second son, he went to the tree, He walked there, he observed, and what he saw was a blossom cherry tree. It was full of flowers, and it was very beautiful. And so he saw that. He came back, and he told his father and his brothers, "Well, look, what I saw was nothing like what you saw. It's not at all a dead tree. It's full of life. It's full of flowers. It's very beautiful, and in that space. So I think we can enjoy that site, and and it's very nice, and it's full of life. We can see that it's not dead at all. Okay. So a few months went by, and then summer came, and he sent the third son, and the third son walked to the tree, and what he saw was a tree full of cherries and full of fruit. So he came back and he said, "Father, it's not at all like my brothers said. It's a tree full of fruit, and there's a lot of birds living there and living off the tree. So, very nice in that sense." Okay. And then a few months went by, and we got to autumn, and he sent the youngest kid, and he went to see the tree, and what he found, of course, was no fruit, and a tree like with those leaves from the autumn that we can see on the cherry trees. And he came back and he said, nothing like my brothers have described. It's a different thing. It's a tree with all shades of colors, very beautiful. You get oranges and browns and some greens, and it's a beautiful tree. But no fruits, no flowers, no dead branches, nothing like that. Okay, excellent. So he gathered the sons and he asked them, "What did you learn from this experience?" So 3 brothers were still thinking, and then the youngest, he came up with some insights about this that I think we can apply. First one is that we do experience, same as the tree, we do experience different seasons in life. And we are affected by those seasons. So it's not like, whatever happens, oh, I'm really tough. I can manage everything. I can manage whatever comes my way. No, circumstances are important. Sometimes, we may have a better job or money or good financial situation or not, or some have gone through the experience of maybe not having the papers in order just to be in a place, to be in a country. Any circumstance, maybe a family member is ill and we didn't expect that. Maybe we had an accident. Any of those things. So those are seasons, and whatever happens, it's going to affect us. We're not going to be immune to the seasons. The second one is that we should not judge our life based on our current situation. Because if we're going through winter and it's very tough and it's very difficult and we're suffering for whatever reason, that's just winter. That's like the way the tree looked. The sun, he wanted to cut it down and use it for wood. What a waste. Because winter is going to end like anything else. Winter's coming. It's going to end. So we can't judge our life by our current situation. But that goes same for spring or summer. We may be full of cherries, and that may just has to make us think maybe on gratitude and maybe on getting ready for whenever that finishes. Another insight that the youngest son he had is that every season has a purpose. So whatever it is that we're going through in our life at this moment, there is a what for that we can think of. Sometimes we tend to, we want to be on the victim's chair. Something is happening and I want to just feel like a victim because it's, you know, it's more comfortable. So, you know, someone is to blame. Maybe the president, maybe the mayor, maybe a colleague here in the center. Could be. Someone is to blame for what happens to me. Maybe I had an accident with a car and it was not my fault. Technically, it was not my fault. And so I can blame someone. I can be on that victim's chair. But we can always ask that question. What is that for? What do I have to learn from this? What is the reason why this is happening to me? Why am I going through this season? And again, we can think of that when it's not good or we don't feel that it's good. And we can ask the question when it's good too. It's a good moment. We tend to forget. We tend to abandon many things, many efforts that we do in life to get to good seasons. We tend to abandon them when we are in the summer. And maybe it's not such a good idea. So always think about that. Another idea is that no matter the current season right now, it's going to change. That's the one thing you can bet on. It's never going to, yeah. Why, my goodness?
No, thank goodness.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Oh, okay. I thought you said, my goodness. I'm like, oh.
No, please, thank goodness.
It's like the expression, and this too shall pass.
Yes. Yes. Everything. Sometimes we don't see it. Some of you know, I just came back from Spain. I've spent a couple of weeks there, not even, because I went to see my father. And I think, to me, what I lived with him for these days, and the reason why I went there, because he was feeling very down, and he had no energy, and he was feeling like he doesn't want to stay here. He doesn't belong here anymore. He's not even that old in terms of what we consider old. Actually, I don't think old exists in that sense. But anyway, he's 70. He's gonna be 78. So, but he's feeling like that. He's feeling like whatever his situation is today, it's not going to pass. That's what he thinks. And he doesn't like it. He's not comfortable. He doesn't see a purpose. Like we said, each season has a purpose. And there is a purpose, probably more than one purpose, and why he is going through whatever he is, his situation right now. But I can't tell him. That's another one of the things of the seasons and of analyzing what you're going through and what your situation is. There's nobody that can tell you, oh, you're in winter because you have to learn to be more patient. And if you learn to be more patient, then spring is going to come. That doesn't work like that. I can't go to him and say, hey, you have to learn to receive. You haven't learned that, to accept that people are going to give to you now that you need to. There's no use in me saying that. He has to discover by himself. So whenever you are in any season, at any moment, You may be receiving inputs from here and there, good advice, bad advice. It has come from you. And you have to think, why am I in this season? Where I'm going from here? What is the purpose of this? What can I learn? And what can I do with this? Because, and this is another insight, in his case, he thinks that if he goes away, like dies, then everything is fine. Whatever he's feeling right now, that's going to go away. But that's not going to happen. So that shows clearly that even though he doesn't see, and many people don't see a purpose on, what am I doing here? What am I doing in this situation? What am I doing in this job? What am I doing in this family? What am I doing in this life? There is something that unless you do that, you're going to carry it. Now, if we elevate ourselves a little bit and we see our whole life in terms of this incarnation, like I'm Juan right now, I can clearly see seasons. I can see what I went through. I can't see what I'm, the future seasons, but I can see some of the seasons. Now, same thing that I can see in terms of this experience as Juan, I can see at the spirit level. At the spirit level, I go through seasons as well. And this experience as Juan, it may be one of those seasons. So, we may think, why did I come with no resources, or with a lot of resources, or in this country, or in this other country? Well, that may be a season of the spirit. And again, it has a purpose, and we have to learn something from it, and we have to do something with it. So we can think of those seasons not only in terms of our life, our material life here, our physical life here, but it's a little wider, and it applies also to the spirit life, as I see it. Now the question is, how are we preparing for those seasons? How are we preparing for those changes? Do we know when the next season is going to begin? Do we think about that? Do we think that there's going to be a change, and when that may happen? Sometimes, as I said, there's a purpose and there's a reason why we are in a particular season, in a particular moment in our lives. But it may be hard to accept that. It may be hard to.
And we tend to think like this season or this change is going to happen over there with that person, not with me.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's something that it's human, like innate, to think, oh, death is going to come to that person, not to me, or age, or whatever.
The hurricane is going to Naples, not here.
No, exactly.
And then it may come here. So we may have something to learn before we move on. Before starting that company, I was at the same job or the same company for 20 years. And of those 20 years, the last 10 years, I was trying to quit and leave the company for 10 years. And it just didn't happen. It just, Cynthia knows about it. It was very painful. But I still had something to do. I still had something to learn. And now I can see that. But looking back at those seasons and at the harder moments, I can see how the preparation makes all the difference. I can see how 15 years ago I went through a very tough moment, and a burnout. I had to take a sabbatical from that company where I was there for 20 years. I had to take a sabbatical, and it was very, very tough. And I hit rock bottom at that moment. Now, later, having done certain preparations, I get the same season, the same situation, the same hurricane, the same tornado, whatever you want to call it, and it's different. The outcome is different. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that anymore. I don't get depressed like that, or just stay in bed for a week, or that kind of thing that I would have done. I did years ago.
What changed?
Is that the question?
What changed?
What changed? Yeah, but there's another question.
There's another question here.
No, it's maybe that's what happened to your father. He couldn't transact to the another, from that season to another one.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the question is, in these 2 weeks, did you share with him anything?
I did have conversations with him, to the point that I can. I tried to share my experience with him, which is hard enough. As maybe some of you experience that when you change a lot, then to share that, in my case with my father, it's very difficult. And he says, "Oh, you've changed so much. I don't even recognize you." But he says it like, with thing, like, thank you. But for him, it's a very bad thing. But nobody is so tough that, with some patience and love, you don't reach at some point. There's an opening. There's always an opening. There's always a moment where you can, where you can share, where I can say, "Hey, this may happen. What if this storm comes? What if you become dependent?" Which is, the word that he doesn't want to hear about, dependent. That may happen. Be aware. We will handle it. We will do the best that we can. So I could have some conversations. What changed? It's interesting. I'll share what changed for me. So, Cara, thank you for that question, because it's the end of the talk today. First of all, and we were working on our group today, use intuition. Try to hear your inner voice. That's very important, to face those seasons and whatever comes. And whenever something like that comes to my life, to our life, it's going to mean change. That's always going to mean change. And that's, they say it's the only constant is change. But now I saw throughout these years that there's a difference between change and transformation. And we're going to go through change regardless. We can't avoid that. Now we can take that change and turn it into transformation. That changes the whole thing. So if I had to say what changed, I think it was that I did certain things that led to that change become a transformation. When a hurricane comes here in the area, it's a hassle, but one thing that it's clear is that it cleans the atmosphere. So it's going to clean everything in the way. Now, when it comes to my life, it's going to clean. What do I do with that? Do I resist that? Do I confront that, sit and do nothing? Then it's probably going to be just a disturbance and not be useful, like in the sense of cleaning and transforming.
It could be also that the perception changes and how
I think that's exactly it. And it's the second time I say I'm going to finish, but this time is for sure I'm going to finish. How do we change that perception? To me, and this is what I would like to leave you with, it's the little things that we do day to day that we think they don't make any difference, that make all the difference when the weather changes. So I'm talking, that meditation, that, again, I have to meditate today. I'd like to get some ice cream instead, or, whatever. So, meditation, prayer. It could be charity work, voluntary work. It could be study. It could be all of those things, our spiritual practice. We keep coming here, and we may think there's no difference from last week to this week. We've had this experience today, and you're listening to me today, and you may have done something else. You may think there's no difference. But day to day, all of those things, being part of a community, or strengthening our social network, or our relationships with our friends, with our family, or practicing gratitude, or cultivating hope, looking for inspiration, and being kind, just practicing kindness. Every day we do these things, and it seems like nothing has changed, but our perception changes. And then when the storm comes, we see it as something that is going to clean the atmosphere, and then it's going to help us take the next step. So my final thought today is to face the weather. It's the day-to-day and the little things and the habits that count and that are going to change our perspective. Don't think that nothing changes, everything does, big time.